So I wanted to do an update video about this truck right here, 2020 F350. This is the truck that I had my wife and my daughter in, and they got the death wobble. Totally made me upset, and I said, all right, I gotta figure this out. Today, I thought I would shoot a video and go through some of the most frequently asked questions in that video that I did, talking about the fix that I did for this truck. So I have a quick update on this truck that I'll share with you towards the end of this video as well. So we took the comments from my death wobble video, and that link is right up here. We took them, ran them through ChatGPT, and said, what are the most common questions that were asked in them? So it's 9 questions. So we'll start with number 9, and that one's kind of a mashup of a bunch of different questions, and it kind of goes along like this. It says, my wobble happens only under blank. Will the caster fix it? And so here are some of the different variations. Under braking. My wobble happens under braking. So usually what I found with that is that if it doesn't happen when you're just going down the road and you're only braking, then your rotors might be a little warped. So this would happen to us all the time when we lived in Wisconsin. We would have these large hills that we would go down in the Mississippi River Valley, and we'd kind of ride the brake a lot. And so it would heat up the rotors, and eventually they would start to warp. And so at some point you would hit the brakes and it would wobble. And it would be pretty severe sometimes. And so every few years I'd have to just take those rotors out and put new ones in because we kept going through them pretty quickly. Doesn't really happen to us here in Tennessee that much, but it will happen. So if you have a warped rotor, that will definitely do it. So under braking, I would say it's probably more of a braking issue. Now, only in 4-wheel drive, the caster might help with that. But this like death wobble that I'm talking about is more like at driving speed. Like you just be driving and all of a sudden it would just happen. Maybe you would hit a bump and it would happen. Something that would cause the steering to go loose a little bit. And I think like they say in NASCAR, he went loose. I don't know, I don't watch NASCAR. But like it would go loose a little bit and then it would just start this shimmy. And that just, to me, means that if there wasn't a tight grip on those wheels and they were able to move around and the shimmy started or the death wobble started, then it's more of a caster issue. Over specific bumps and bridge joints, that's the next one. Yeah, so I would say that's usually a caster issue because the wheels were able to be free at that point. And then it says only between 45 and 60. So if there's a very specific, like when you get the death wobble, you kind of know because the whole truck shakes and the wheel shakes really hard. That to me is the death wobble. If you're just getting like a shake at a certain point in like speed, it might be like a wheel's out of balance, right? So I've had this happen a bunch of times. Wheel would be out of balance and it would do a little shake, but it wasn't wild. I still had total control. And then there was one time we had our excursion where the drive line, the drive axle itself was out of balance. So when you would push the gas, it would vibrate quite a bit. And we had to bring it somewhere and they would put it in, balance it, and it took care of that. So I wouldn't say that the caster will fix everything, but it'll definitely specifically fix the death wobble to where if you hit a bump and it just starts and your wheel is shaking really hard, that's what I call the death wobble. All right, so number 8, this says, is this safe? Why doesn't Ford do this from the factory? I don't know exactly. It is, in my opinion, it's safe. But again, I have to preface it and say, you know, do this at your own risk, all of that. We're making a change to the truck that the factory didn't do. I don't understand why they didn't do it. One of the things that kind of makes sense is that low caster makes it easier to steer. It kind of makes sense in that I get what they're talking about. When you set the caster higher, it's a little more firm on the steering wheel, but I don't really like it like super easy to steer anyway. I'd rather have there be something there. But I bet Ford's just saying, we want this really to be easy and smooth, so we're going to set the caster low. So that's kind of my thought there. I honestly don't know why they've allowed this death wobble to happen through so many years. There's so many model years that this happened, right? So I know it's some people talk about this going way, way back. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But I would say that this is a pretty safe thing. A lot of people are doing it. And just myself, this truck alone, we made the change without changing anything else for the first year. And it never came back, ever. And so then I did an update video not too long ago about actually changing some of the driveline or some of the linkages and parts and everything. We changed those out, got an alignment, and again, it's never happened again. So personally, I would say yes, it is safe. I don't know why they don't do it from the factory. You might have to ask them. A lot of people have done it and had good results from it. So number 7, can this fix an excursion leaf spring truck. This particular fix, no, because the Excursion is a 4-leaf system. So that means, like, if you look at the back of this truck, there's leaf springs. They had them in the front too. So you can't adjust it with a bushing. You have to adjust it with a shim. There was a place that in our home in Wisconsin that knew about caster shims and everything, and I went to them specifically and said, can you add caster to this vehicle? They did, and it was much better. I might have, if I still had the vehicle, I might have even had them add more, because it did such a good job a little bit. It made the steering a little stiffer, which I was fine with, but it's still, the Leaf truck still drove kind of, I didn't like it that much. So this specific fix won't fix it. This is more for like the coil springs in the front. If you have ball joint bushings, this would be the fix for it, okay? Number 6, do I need to replace both sides? I would say yes. You would want to add caster to both sides. Now, what I've learned as well is, and some people have mentioned in the comments, is that they will have different caster settings on each wheel. One will be a little bit more because there's like a crown in the road. And so I didn't take this into account when I did mine with this. I don't really notice it. Like it drives great, and it doesn't wear the tires down any different than it did before. Just look, like on our brand new truck, they had one, I think it's 0.4 degrees and then 0 degrees on one and then the other. You would probably want to replace both, but then maybe just adjust it a little bit based on what you saw in your truck, if that makes sense. I would say that's probably not a big deal if you set them both the same, but again, do that at your own risk, but you should do both sides, okay? How do I orient the bushing? This was probably the hardest one because the sheets that come with the bushing aren't super easy to read. And so I can't really give you a general, this is what you should do. You gotta find the sheet that goes along with your bushing and then, you know, put it in there and make the change with it. In the video that I did, I showed kind of the before and the after, how it's just a minor touch, right? It's just a minor move, but you could tell like more caster was added to it. So if you use that as like a general rule, you know, like if you're putting it the wrong way, then it, you know, would lean back the other direction, and you know that that's not right. I wish I could give you more of an answer on that one, but it's just very specific to the bushing. The one that I did for this truck was different than the one that I did for the 2024. So that's why I hesitate to say, well, you know, this is what you should do. You just got to really read the diagram. And unfortunately, they're kind of hard to read too. So what I would say is if you went to Napa or something, got the thing, maybe just pull it out in front of them and say, can you help me read this? And see what they say, okay? Do I need an alignment after installing these? I would say for sure, yes. It's not a bad thing to do. You can do it one of two ways. You can put the caster in yourself, take it there and just say, align it and see what they say. Or you can go there and say, this is what I did. I added caster, and then see what they say too. If you were like really wanting to have a good idea of what you did, do an alignment before, get a full report. Do alignment after, get a full report. Right? See like what it was before and after when they even did the alignment. It's going to cost you some money, but at least you know exactly what you did and what changes you made. If you don't do an alignment, then it'll end up wearing your tires, because by doing one thing, it can take something else out of alignment. So you definitely want to do that. Number 3, what caster angle should I ask for? One that I did in this one, I think had a maximum of 2 or 2.5%. I can't remember. Apologize about that. But when you get the bushings, there will be the max that it can do, just because in the spot that the bushing goes, it can't move anymore, right? It's got a degree of tilt, and after that, it's done. It can't tilt anymore. So there will be bushings that will maybe say like 3% is the maximum that you can do depending on the year of your truck. I would just say add as much as you can within reason, okay? So like I did the update video on the 2024, I added 1.5 degrees of caster in that, and that's made a sound in the wheel, a woo, woo, woo type of sound. So I ended up pulling that off and putting the original bushings back in. As someone mentioned in the comments of the video for this truck, where they said, I did it on a 2024 as well, and they had the same sound. So they may have done something to the very new versions of the truck that you can actually tell. In that truck, the steering wheel is much harder to turn than this truck. They may have actually tried to do something to fix it without telling us, like, hey guys, we made a whole change to the whole yada yada. So it might not even be needed on the new truck, but I liked doing it on that one just to show you how it's done. So as far as like what's the angle, you could do it one of a couple ways. You can go a little bit and try it, or you can go as much as you can, as much as the bushing will do it, do your alignment, drive it, see how it goes. Again, this is all at your own risk. I don't think that adding a lot of caster will make it dangerous at all. It'll just make the steering a little bit harder. So if you're okay with that, adding as much caster as the bushing will let you is probably the best way to go. So number 2, will this work on my truck, van, SUV? This fix was specific to the Fords because I was basically showing you the bushing. Now I know other vehicles like minivans and stuff might have a bushing that's just like it. I don't know of a lot of vehicles other than like Jeeps. I think in the comments a lot of people say this happens on Jeeps all the time. I don't know other vehicles that really struggle with the death wobble, but this one was specific to the Ford. Others may have the same bushing. I just don't know if they do. I wish I could tell you. I don't have one in front of me. ChatGPT says it doesn't apply when independent front suspension, vehicles without upper ball joint, eccentric sleeves, don't know what that is, trucks with radius arm drop brackets already installed by a lift kit. Okay, so if you already have a lift kit. But this one most likely will work on any Ford F-250, 350 from around the late 90s to current. This specific one does not work on the Excursion. And it may work on, and it should work on a lot of the E-series like E250, 350, 450 that have like a solid front axle. The question that was asked the most in the comments was, what exact part do I need? Okay, so there, if you have a 2020, the link to that part was like the first link on the video. If you have a 2024, it was the first link to that video. Otherwise, if you have a different year, I can't give you a direct link to that because what I want you to do is call like Napa and ask them and say, I have a 2005 F-250. They can look it up and they would be the best ones to ask. So I think Napa would be the key. Call up your local Napa, tell them your year, your model, ask them for the caster bushing. They should be able to give you the right one. Then go to the store, pull out the diagram and ask them to help you read it and see where to set it and all of that stuff. If you have someone like, I've never seen this before, you might just want to ask for like a manager or someone else that's actually worked with cars, have them come out and help you read it. But I think doing a little bit of legwork, because if I tell you the wrong one and you put it in, then you'll send a message to me and say, you told me this one, it's not right. So I know the one that I got on Amazon that worked for this truck, so I'm confident in that. But if you have a different year, I don't want to tell you which one because I want you to find the correct one. And I think Napa will be your best bet, okay? And by doing that, you're going to spend a little bit more because you're going to buy one direct from them. I think it's their part, but that way you know they are going to back it up. And so if they have a problem, if it's not the right one, they will make it right for you and get you the right part. And then also, what's changed on this truck? So we've driven this truck many, many, many miles with the change. And like I said, for the first year, the only thing we did was the bushing. We left everything else the way that it was. So it had a little bit loose linkages and everything, that there was some play in the wheel, all of that. Death wobble never came back. We actually changed out the wheels that were on here, the tires, and right now they're in with the goats, but I put these even bigger Michelin Defenders on. My idea with this was to make the ride a little softer. I like these wheels. They don't make a lot of noise. They're nice and smooth, and they're a little bit bigger, and still no death wobble on there, right? Everything works great. I don't mind my wife and daughter driving this because I know death wobble will not happen because we made that change. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions at all, drop them down below. We'll do our best to try to answer them. That last video just got, kind of carried away, and so we couldn't really answer them all, but we'll do our best to help. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.